Welcome back to another episode of Meet Cute, where we explore the stories of extraordinary people with radical meat-based beliefs. I'm your host, Alex Rhodes. Okay, welcome Jess to Meet Cute. We are so excited to have you here today.
I'm so excited too. It's really nice meeting you too.
Yeah, no, you too, for sure. I see you on IG and I'm like, oh, love that girl already.
Then the feeling is mutual.
Good. You are fully carnivore, yes?
Other than coffee, I drink coffee, decaf. But other than that, yeah.
Okay, all right. How long have you been carnivore?
Almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in January. I started January 2020 for World Carnivore Month.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. And then just out of curiosity, what are your energy levels like? Like, how do you feel on a day-to-day basis?
My energy levels are good. I think that I don't really have a problem. And before carnivore, I didn't really have a problem with energy either, but I was also drinking bangs every day and coffee. So that probably had something to do with it. But now that I'm only drinking decaf, my energy levels are still the same as they were before. So that's cool. The only thing I noticed though is that around my period, like a week before my period, I'll get a little more tired. And that's basically the only dip in energy that I've noticed so far.
Awesome. Well, can you tell me, how did you land on carnivore? Did you see it somewhere? Did you have health problems?
My husband actually found carnivore and showed it to me. I had no idea what it was. I did have health issues, but the main thing that I was really frustrated with in my life at the point where I started was I couldn't lose weight. I'm 5'5" and I weighed about 155 pounds around there. For the majority of my life, I just had extra weight around my stomach that I couldn't get rid of. I was going to the gym all the time. I was always really active and I just could not lose this weight. And I was eating healthy and I was very frustrated and very insecure and would have bouts of like depression and stuff like that. I was never diagnosed with depression, so I say it's depression, but I don't know if I was actually depressed, but I would cry myself to sleep. I hated myself. I hated my reflection. I didn't know what I was doing wrong. And my husband, he found the Joe Rogan, Sean Baker podcast, and he showed it to me and said, hey, this kind of seems like it could help you. You should watch it and try it. So I watched it and what he said made a lot of sense. So I decided to try it and the first month was amazing. I lost about 20 pounds and my skin started to clear up. My gut started to heal because I had really, really bad gut issues, which is the main reason why I just always carried around weight around my stomach, because I always suffered with constipation my whole life. But growing up, my constipation was so bad. I would only go to the bathroom once every about 3 weeks. It was awful.
Wow.
Yeah. That led to me having acne, me just constantly being bloated. My stomach would hurt to the touch. I couldn't lose the weight because I was just literally full of shit, even though I was extremely active. And then it made my immune system really bad. So I was sick all the time. It was just a whole domino effect of issues. And then I went gluten-free when I was 19, and that helped a little, but I still had constipation, acne, anxiety, severe mood swings, things like that. And it wasn't until carnivore where those things actually started to change and heal.
I love that it's worked out so well for you. So something you said about, you couldn't lose weight and you felt all these insecurities and you felt like it led to bouts of depression. When did that start for you? When did you kind of become aware of you being overweight?
Middle school. You can look at pictures of me of when I was a child and you can see where the gluten intolerance or whatever kicked in, because I was this really cute little blonde girl, just normal, skinny little blonde girl. And then all of a sudden, I blew up and just was chubby. within a year. You could, like, the pictures are cute little blonde girl, chubby blonde girl. And then it didn't help that I chopped all my hair off at the same time. So then I had a short bob, really chubby face, and then I was just chubby and it happened very quickly. I got stretch marks as a middle schooler, and that was really hard for me to deal with because all my friends were skinny. But I think it did help because it helped develop who I am today, because I did get made fun of. I wasn't the girl that guys wanted to date, so I had to develop a personality. So I think it's helped me in that regard, because I had to be the funny one, or I did theater. I loved theater. So I had to be the outgoing one, and I had to rely on my personality. And I used it as a mask to hide my insecurities, because I was very insecure. I still suffer from some insecurities to this day, but it's definitely nothing like it was when I was eating the way I was, which is crazy that food has such a huge impact on you mentally too. That's the most surprising thing about carnivore that I love.
Oh, 100%. And then, I know that there are certain dyes and stuff in children's food that cause like severe behavioral problems. And a lot of parents are walking around like, why are my kids tyrants? Are they autistic? They like go and get these continued diagnoses. And then all of a sudden it's like your kid's on 12 meds, and all you needed to do was not feed them trash.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's so sad.
So when you were in middle school, what would you say it felt like for you? Was there any like moment specifically that you remember of being bullied, or anything like that you can share from that time?
I was never bullied for my weight, surprisingly. I was made fun of. I wouldn't say bullied. There would be like comments and just like remarks and things like that about my skin, about my acne. And when I chopped my hair off again for the second time when I was going into 8th grade, which was another huge mistake. I just need to stop cutting my hair. But so I chopped my hair off, and the boys in middle school would call me helmet head because my hair is very poofy. So when I chopped it off, it just poofed and then did this like little duck curl thing. So I literally looked like I was just like wearing a helmet all the time. It was awful. I wore makeup in middle school because I had acne and I was really insecure, and girls would comment like, your makeup doesn't match your neck and things like that. And you're wearing makeup, we can tell. Just like dumb little comments like that. I think that bullying helped me. Not bullying, but like I think what I experienced helped toughen me up. If I could go back, I would want to experience the same thing, because I feel like a lot of people are very sensitive nowadays because they didn't learn how to deal with hurtful remarks when they were a child, which I think is one of the benefits of, because when you're a child, you don't really have a filter. You don't really understand that you're not supposed to say certain things. And so I think that's a benefit that we have as kids, because it does help to toughen us up as adults. So it's part of me is like, it sucked, but part of me is like, it was worth it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I feel like I went down a similar life path, I guess. I was way overweight growing up, like not just like a few pounds, like I was 200 pounds, I'm pretty sure, in middle school. I was a big girl. I would say that making fun of and the like, I would say, teetering bullying that I experienced was definitely a big part of who I am today. And, I see people now, even in my hometown, that bullied me in school, and they're like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I had that similar experiences. There was this one kid that was pretty mean to me, and I've never been a weak person. Even when I was a child, I stood up for what I believed in. I was one of the only Christians at my school, and I got attention for that because people would be like, oh, if God's real, pray that it snows right now. And I'm like, oh, that's so stupid. And so I've always been able to stand up for myself and stand up for what I believe in. And I've never been easily pushed over. I've never been like easily hurt. But this one kid, he kicked me or something, and I got in trouble at school. and my parents were pissed. He said that I glared at him, and then he kicked me. And then somehow I got in trouble. And then my mom and dad marched into the principal's office and just like blew a casket, and because I got in trouble. And then years later, this kid, the same boy, saw me in the grocery store in my hometown and asked for my number. And I was like, screw you.
Seriously.
I definitely have experienced that, where people like who did used to give me a hard time for being overweight a little, like, so like girl, you know how girls are, just like your friend group, just like, oh, you can borrow my shirt if it'll fit you. Like it was like remarks like that. And now they're much heavier and things like that. So like I have experienced that.
Yeah. When did you start making like shifts and changes in your life to be better?
Definitely not in high school. I was alone, and I had a teacher telling me that I would get beat up if I looked at older classmen. So my freshman year, I was so scared, so insecure. I thought I was just went into freshman year horrible. I didn't talk to anyone. I didn't really make a lot of friends. And then when I realized that was a lie, because I did go to a private school, so it was much smaller and people are much nicer. And I started to come out of my shell a little, and then I started doing theater, and I enjoyed that, but I was still extremely insecure. Probably when I dropped out of college and I was dating this guy, and he worked at a Muay Thai gym, and I started doing Muay Thai with him. And there was a lady that worked at that gym also who trained people for NPC competitions. And she would always approach me and tell me that I would be great in an NPC competition. And I still at that point had like thought I was so fat and ugly and didn't think, I was like, I'm not going to walk on a bikini on stage. And then I just kind of decided, you know what? I'm young. I might as well just go for it, face my fears. So I agreed to do it. And she put me on a diet of, I ate 1 tilapia and 7 pieces of asparagus 2 times a day. Yeah, 2 times a day for over 2 months. And I was working out 3 times a day because I worked at the gym. So I was working out all the time, eating 1 tilapia and 7 pieces of asparagus. Sometimes I wouldn't even cook them. I would just eat them raw. After that, my life kind of just like I just started making really poor decisions, and it started going down. And then when I kind of like hit my own little rock bottom is when I started to make changes and take life more seriously. And then, yeah.
So do you think that going through this NPC prep, this tilapia and 7 asparagus, do you think that hindered sort of like your relationship with food at that time?
I've never really had an emotional connection to food. Mm-hmm. So like how we were talking earlier about how you're very logical. I feel like I've kind of always been like that too, where I definitely, if I was stressed out or if I got a bad grade, I would eat ice cream or something to make me feel better. So I did do things like that, but I was never obsessed with food. I never really used food in a way to where it controlled me. I controlled it. So when I did the NPC competitions, it was a tool to get to me being able to be in a bikini on stage. So I was like, this is what I have to do. This is my workout program. This is my meal program. Okay, I'm going to do it. And I didn't really look at it as anything else other than this is what I have to do to get to this goal. And I did it, and I stuck with it. So, and that's the same with carnivore too, where it's just like, people are like, oh, it's so restrictive. You can't eat this. You can't eat this. And in my head, it's like, well, this is what I have to eat in order to feel this way. So this is what I'm going to eat. And it's not like, oh, I wish I could have this. I wish I could have this. It's like, why would I want that? Because this is what I have to eat in order to feel this way. So with food, I've never had struggled with like addiction or anything like that. When I was in around my senior year, I tried, I don't want to offend people, but this is what happened to me. I tried being anorexic because I was overweight and I wanted to lose weight, and I knew that worked for people. Like if you became anorexic, you became skinny. So I knew that worked. So I was like, if I just stop eating, I'll become skinny. And my parents noticed and they would basically put food in front of me and just like watch me eat. So then that didn't work out. So then I tried to be bulimic because I thought to myself, if I can't starve myself, then I'll just eat and then go throw it up when no one's watching, because that works for people too. When people who are bulimic become skinny. And I just looked at it as like a matter of fact, not like a emotional or mental thing, just like this works for people, so it will work for me. So then I tried that for a little bit, and I found out that if you are bulimic, you typically have really bad teeth because you're just constantly throwing up. So I stopped because my teeth and my eyes, so my smile and my eyes, were literally the only thing that I liked about myself. I wasn't going to sacrifice my teeth just to get skinny because I didn't want to be skinny and then have bad teeth. Like it was more important for me to like salvage the one of the two things that I only liked about myself. So I stopped that until carnivore. I legitimately thought like, this is just how it's supposed to be. I'm just supposed to be fat. I like literally did not realize that the food I was eating was impacting me so much. And no one ever told me that. Everything was always, if you want to lose weight, you need to go work out or starve yourself. Like it was always just that. There was no other option. It was just work out really hard or starve yourself. Starving myself didn't work. Working out didn't work. So I was like, well, this is just how it's meant to be.
No, that's great. That's great. I mean, I did notice you get a little emotional about, your smile and eyes being the one thing that you loved about yourself. And I love that because I think, you say you don't want to offend anybody, but I promise you there's somebody out there that's going through that exact same thing. That's like, okay, this is logical. Like I should just be anorexic, or this is logical. I should just be bulimic, and like, I think it's really awesome that you stepped back and you were like, the two things that I love the most about myself are going to be affected by this, and it's kind of like that worth versus value that you've been talking about this whole time. You're like, this is what happens when I do this. And is there, anything like a moment that you remember specifically, if not, no worries, but where you were just like, I love this about myself, and I don't want this to happen to that. Do you remember that moment at all?
So I don't know if there was a specific moment, but I just always knew that those were just the two good things about me. As a child, I hated my personality. So I would try to make my personality different. I hated my skin because I had acne, and then I got stretch marks when I was really young. So I hated my body, and then I was fat. So I hated my body in that way. I hated everything. Like my parents would fight a lot. And my siblings were much older than me. So they were basically out of the house. So I was basically an only child. So I grew up just in my room alone a lot while hearing my parents yell downstairs, and just being alone and feeling alone and just feeling like I hated myself. And then just like having like gut issues and stuff on top of that, where I couldn't go to the bathroom, and I didn't realize that was I really thought that it was normal for people to only go. I didn't realize people were going to the bathroom every day. I didn't think that was a thing because you didn't talk about poop in my house, and culture didn't talk about poop yet either. It was the early 90s. So I just thought everything was wrong with me. Like when I go to the bathroom, like I would cry and I would bleed, and then I would look in the mirror, and I legitimately struggled growing up to look at my reflection in the mirror because I thought I was a monster, like just like from my acne. I just hated looking at myself. So I would try to avoid looking at myself in the mirror. And I don't have like a lot of pictures of myself I don't really have any pictures of myself with bad acne because I would delete them. If I saw them, I would throw them away. I would cut them up because I really didn't think my skin would ever change. So I didn't want to have that reminder just staring at me in the face.
I'm honestly just so enjoying like hearing about your, like, this is amazing. You know, dude, like you were in the depths, you know, like look at you now. So that leads me to my next question. Were you still experiencing this when you met your husband?
No, yeah, I was extremely insecure when I met him. And I had horrible mood swings. I feel really bad for him that he had to deal with that. But he's amazing and so patient. And then he's much smarter than me. So he decided to actually search for answers. I didn't realize that there would be answers to my problems. I thought it was just the hand that I've been dealt, and he looked for the answers and found it for me. So yeah, I'm incredibly grateful for him. Just growing up too, because my parents, like I was talking about, they fought a lot, and their natural, I was taught basically just from seeing them that the way to communicate with someone is to yell and scream. So when I got married, I would yell at him if I got frustrated, and I would get frustrated really quickly. The drop of the hat, I would be really happy and then just like angry, and I could go from 0 to 5,000 in a split second, and I couldn't control it. Like it felt like it was just an out of body experience. Like it was just happening. It wasn't something I was doing. It was just happening to me. If I got mad about something, I would just start yelling, and he would be just completely taken back because he wasn't raised that way. He was raised in a like very calm household. His mom is the sweetest person in the world. I don't think she's ever yelled at anyone. And so he would be like, why are you, like, this isn't a big deal. Like, why are you yelling at me? And I'd be like, ah, and just like Hulk out and just go insane. And he would kept telling me, you need to get that figured out. That's not how adults operate. You need to calm down. It was this weird thing where I would go off at the flip of a switch, but then when I was done, and he could tell me, that's not normal. You need to get it figured out. You need to calm down. And I'd be like, okay, yeah, you're right. And then like something would happen and it would just like push me again. It's so much better now after Carnivore. I still have moments where like if I get really frustrated, it's really hard for me to control it, but I'm learning and I'm getting better. But it used to be so bad.
Yeah. Do you feel like that was a combination of like modeled behavior from your parents and a combination of just like the wrong food choices?
Yeah, I think it was definitely both of just learned behavior, and what I was eating definitely wasn't helping. And then if I was hangry or something, I would definitely get really, really hangry because I was a sugar burner. I wasn't running on fat. So I think it definitely was just a whole, and I usually had like shit in my stomach that wouldn't come out. So I would just be, because like, like if you're constipated, it just ruins your whole day. Like if you're constipated, it just it gets into your mind. It just like, you feel awful. It ruins your day. And that was my life. Basically, I was just constantly just like, couldn't shit. I hated myself. I was eating the wrong foods. It was just like, I was just not doing myself any favors. It was just like one thing after another, which it's not an excuse, but I definitely wasn't helping me in any way.
Yeah. Well, it's not like you knew, No. I mean, honestly, it's unfortunate that we live in a society that is so misinformed. I'm curious. So he essentially told you, you needed to get it together and went out and found Carnivore for you. Mm-hmm. So how would you say your relationship has changed since then? Yeah,
we don't fight as much, and we're able to have conversations instead of just me yelling, and I don't explode on him just like randomly. And so it's mostly like me. I've changed. He's always been really awesome, and he helped me change it. But he's always been, he would read self-help books, and things like that. He's younger than me, but he's always much more mature than me, and he's taught me so much. So it was mostly me that changed. And yeah, it's definitely a lot better. And and things resolve a lot more quickly too, which is nice. And yeah, like if we fight about something, like when it's over and we move on. So it's not like 2 weeks later, you're still upset about some dumb thing you were fighting about, you know?
No, I love that. Like, I think there's one thing that I take away from that, and it's like this relentless pursuit of acceptance, but in both directions, right? Like, if you're not going to change it, you're going to have to accept it as is, you know, but if you have the power to change it, then change it. You know, it's sort of, you know, I think we all get in positions where we just feel like the world is just like, I'm sure you felt that way at some point in your journey where you're just like, I feel stuck, right? You're like, you can't do anything. Nothing is in your power. But truly, as human beings, like everything we do and every choice that we make, every piece of food that we put in our mouth, every thought that we have can be trained to be what we want it to be. And so I think, you know, essentially what you're saying is like, do things that are in alignment with the person that you want to be, not the person that you are.
Yeah. And I think mindset is huge too. Like you were saying, like you can train yourself to be a more positive person and to have a more positive outlet. And we're in society today. I feel like it's just, we're told that you're just controlled by your emotions, and what your emotions are true. And if someone denies your emotions, they're denying you, and all these things. And I feel like you have control over your life and your emotions and your decisions and things like that. And if someone denies your emotion, like that's their issue. That's not your issue. I don't like when people blame other people for things. I feel like we need more personal responsibility and doing things for yourself and changing things and taking things into your own hands and being confident and being like strong-willed and not weak-minded and doing hard things that scare you and things like that. We need to toughen up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and I think another way of thinking of that is just like we all have our own little worlds that we live in, right? Like you are not me and I am not you. And there is no way that I would know exactly what it's like to walk in your shoes. So even if you are feeling emotional about something, let's say it's something that I don't feel emotional about. So I'm going to automatically assume you don't feel emotional about it. And that's not me invalidating your feelings, but that's me living in alignment with who I am, and it doesn't align with who you are. And so I think, you know, as a society, it's really important for us to start to recognize that we can all start making these changes where, yes, you are valid in your emotions, but you're the only one that feels them. So, you know, being able to take that and validate yourself instead of seeking validation from others, you know, is a really important piece of that.
Yeah, I saw this one reel one time, and the girl, she was commenting because someone said, "Oh, you're so lucky that you got this far," or something. And she said, "It's not, luck has nothing to do with it. It's hard work. We need to change this mindset about society." And I understand what she was saying, but at the same time, I'm like, who cares? If someone says you're lucky, just say thanks and move on. Like, you know, you worked hard. You don't have to have people think you worked hard to validate your hard work. If you worked hard and you got to where you're at and someone says it's just luck, who cares? Like, that doesn't change the fact that you worked hard. And so that's my thoughts on it, where like other people's opinions of you and other people's validation shouldn't actually matter, which I didn't believe when I was younger. I definitely wanted outside validation, but I'm learning that now. And I think one thing, like how I always like look at things too, I like remind myself to, when I'm experiencing something and I'm really emotional about it, I just look at the world and I look at other people, and there'll be just like a guy walking down the street, and I think like, he has no idea what my issue is right now. He's not affected by it at all. Like, he's just going through about his day. And so like, it's weird. Like, when I think about like how other people would respond to like my situation, and they would probably not be affected at all. Like, it helps me calm down. Did I explain that correctly? Do you know what I'm saying? To where like, if I like am really upset about something and I tell someone and it affects them in no way, so they're just like, oh, okay. It helps me to like get over it more, because I know that like it's just an emotion. It's not real. It's just,
Yeah.
I'm just feeling an emotion, and it doesn't actually like affect me. I just like am feeling, I don't know. It's,
No.
I can't explain it well.
No, I think that makes perfect sense. Like if I were to go tell a stranger, I'm so mad because my sister said this to me this morning, they would probably look at me and be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah. And then it helps me get over it, because it's like, oh, it's not the end of the world. Like
Right.
it's just like a dumb thing that happened. You can get over it. Cause if a stranger wouldn't care, like, why am I caring? You know what I'm saying? So like, it helps me get over like tedious things like that too.
Oh yeah. And I feel like even that extends to everything: relationship overwhelm, family overwhelm, friends overwhelm. Something happens and you're just like, it's the end of the world, but then you have to like step out and be like, okay, this world's bigger than just me and this person that I'm arguing with right now. Like, there are billions of other people and they don't care about what I am arguing with so-and-so about.
Yeah, that it helps me. I don't know. That's one thing I do that helps me.
No, I think that's a lovely like tip and trick. And it's always so important to remember, like, I think something that we get stuck on in our heads is that we're the only person on this planet, and it's so not true. Kind of like placing other people, even strangers, is like, okay, wow, it's another thing about traveling, like you start to finally realize, you're like, oh my gosh, this is way bigger than my small hometown. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many other people with so many other life experiences and completely different stories than you. Mm-hmm. And, what makes us amazing is that we can connect with them because they're humans, but like the likelihood of them being, invested in what's going on with you is small, but that's good. Mm-hmm. Gives you perspective. And so like as a society now, we take so much influence from other people, especially like in the realm of social media. So like, how do you balance the practice of like not taking things personal? How do you continue to let other people inspire you without letting them affect you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think just being conscious of what you're letting into your brain, because there is like so I'm in school right now for journalism, and in one of the classes we learned about like subliminal messaging and how companies will utilize that, because if you're not paying attention, if your brain isn't actively engaged in what you're doing and you're just scrolling through your phone or something and you see an ad, even if you don't fully pay attention to the ad, it'll still like plant a little seed in your head. And then if you see it more and more, you'll be more inclined to look at it and like it. Like, have you ever noticed that if you see a type of fashion design and you hate it at first, but then it becomes like a trend and you just see it more and more, and then eventually you start liking it the more you see it? So like companies will like utilize that. So if you're not actively filtering the information that you're consuming, even like in the world, on your phone, anywhere, like little things will get planted in your head and start to shape what you believe, what you think is cool, how you talk, things like that. So I think just being aware that your brain is consuming things, if you're aware of it or not, and just understanding that you need to kind of, what I say is like, you have to audit your thoughts every once in a while. Just like audit your beliefs, audit your thoughts, really question, why do I feel this way? Why do I believe this? Why am I listening to this person? And just question, is that person's values in line with my own? If they are, yeah, I'll keep listening to them. If they're not really, like, why, I needed to get them out of my life because that's going to affect me. So just being conscious and aware and questioning, constantly questioning, and also not taking things with a grain of salt, because every no one is going to agree with everyone 100% of the time. And I think that on social media, it's kind of created this weird atmosphere. If you follow someone and they do one thing you don't like, you're like, oh, I can't follow them anymore because they did this and I don't agree with that. And I think that's incredibly immature. Like Paul Saladino is a big one where people hate Paul Saladino because he eats fruit. But a lot of, and I don't eat fruit. I don't agree that I'm not an expert, but I don't I don't personally eat fruit. I don't know the science or anything. I just don't personally eat fruit. So, but Paul says a lot of really good things. So I still follow Paul Saladino. And when I listen to him talk, I can take, like, if he has like nuggets that I think are really valuable, I can take that and leave the other stuff. And then someone else who listens to him could think that the things I think are stupid and the things that I think are stupid are really valuable. And that's just like the human, you have to figure that out on your own. So I just think, yeah, like taking things with a grain of salt, knowing you don't have to like agree with people 100%. You can form your own opinions and shape your own thoughts, and just not taking it too seriously, but understanding that everything is going to influence you. So you have to be actively aware of what you're being influenced by. It again requires a lot of like personal responsibility that I think a lot of people are really lazy and they don't want to put that much effort into it. So they're kind of just skating through life, and that's why influencers are so popular, because if you just listen to the influencer and you just do what they say, then you don't have to take any personal responsibility for yourself. You can just do what they tell you to do, and you don't have to make decisions for yourself. You can just listen to them and do what they say. And then if something goes wrong, you can just say, well, they steered me wrong and it's not your fault.
No, yeah, no, that was a great answer. That was a great answer. I love that you monitoring social media and like auditing, what your beliefs are. And, I think something important to recognize too is like, if you feel unstable watching somebody else, kind of like Paul Saladino, eat fruit, right? So like if you are unstable in your own beliefs, that will bother you, exactly. So I love that you said audit your beliefs, because if you believe that it is the way it is, then nothing on the outside is going to influence you. And so I think it's not necessarily be offended by Paul eating fruit.
Yeah.
It's take into account like, okay, that offended me, but why? Is there something in my beliefs that I need to address? Because obviously I'm triggered by this.
Yeah. That's like, people always ask me, how do you deal with the hate that you get online? And I don't let it offend me, because it's not true. So if someone says you're killing yourself, you're going to die of heart disease from eating red meat, why would that offend me? Why would I get triggered? It's not true. Their words hold no value. So I can just move on and just disagree with them and move on. If Paul says like, you need to eat fruit, I can just say no thanks and move on. I don't need to eat fruit. I like to eat meat and I don't really crave it, so I'm not going to add it into my diet. If someone does say something to me and it does like offend me and get to me, that's usually a red flag that something within me is I need to like reflect on something, that one of my issues. If someone hurts my feelings or offends me, then I need to like you were saying, ask, why did that offend me? And if you're confident in your beliefs, like I'm a Christian and I believe that Jesus died for my sins. So when people tell me like, oh, you're crazy to believe in like the God and all this stuff, blah, 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 like that doesn't offend me. Like, okay, cool, but I'm still going to believe that, So like if you're, like you were saying, like if your beliefs are strong, if you know what you believe, if you like constantly question and audit your thoughts and stuff like that, and just like reinforce your beliefs and search for answers and things like that, then like it's not gonna affect you as much. And I think it's also like really important to, like, especially on social media, to understand that it's not real. So like when I put my phone down and I turn it off and I'm not looking at it and I'm like with my husband in the real world, I'm in the real world. And I'm like, social media is like a separate other thing. It's not real. And then when I get into social media, I like, my brain like switches over to social media mode and I start like doing social media, but it's like, it's not a real thing. It's just social media. So like, I think that perspective helps me a lot too, where it's like, I can turn off my phone and I step outside of that world back into the real world. Cause like it could be erased and gone tomorrow. Like it's just a tool. Like social media is a tool to get this message out to more people. And that's all I see it as, you know, it's not my life. It's not any more important to me. Like if it was gone tomorrow, it's gone tomorrow. It's literally the tool that I'm using to get from point A to point B, you know?
Like, and then outside of that, you're building pillars in your life that you will always have, you know, your relationship with your husband, you know, traveling or, you know, going to get groceries, you know, these basic things that we do as humans every day. And, you know, I think that that's something that we all forget sometimes. And, you know, I think some people really get tied up in social media because they think that it's the only way. And, you know, this influencer lives this life and it's, as you said, you know, it's fake, you know, like, although like what we put on our page is real to us and like it is something in a form of our self-expression, it isn't all of who we are, you know? Like,
and social media, you have to grow on social media, you have to have a niche and you have to have a specific focus that people follow you for that specific purpose. Unless you're a mega celebrity, then you can do what you want and you're going to have a following. But if you're just a normal person, you have to have a niche, and people don't get that. Like I'll get comments that all you ever talk about is meat. And it's like, yeah, because that's my niche on social media. Like I'm still a human. Like I still have a plethora of other things that I'm interested in and other hobbies and things like that. But like this is how you get popular on social media, is by talking about the same thing over and over and over. And that's just how it is. So and I think people really think that like you're just like influencers are just that vapid and all they can talk about is just that one subject. And it's like, no, it's basically like your job. Like I see it as my job. Like I log into social media and I talk about carnivore and I try to spread more truth about carnivore. And then I log off social media and then I go do my life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, and I hate to bring the Kardashians into this, but over the years I've watched them and it's like, I haven't watched them. Like I don't watch their show and stuff, but you know, you see the embarrassing stuff on social media or, you know, stuff about their butts and their boobs and their makeup and I'm like, these women are genius.
Yeah.
You know, like that is such a front, you know, they're like, I'm putting my boobs out here. I'm putting my butt out here. This is the brand that you are going to read. But behind closed doors, I mean, isn't Kim like an attorney or something now? You know what I mean? Like they are probably extremely well-rounded, normal women that just put on this front. Like they're this brand. And
that's how it's the most frustrating thing about our culture, in my opinion, is that like I understand, like obviously I'm playing the game of having a niche, but it's so frustrating to me that like people don't have the mental like fortitude or capacity to follow someone and have that person talk about like a multitude of different things. It's like we can, because if you try to do that, you're not going to really get popular. Like you have to find your specific like hook and stick with that and like beat it into the ground. And it's so frustrating which is why this podcast too is like so cool, because you're like you're going in more in depth and like really like getting to know the person and not just talking about carnivore. Like you're really exploring their life. So it's really like refreshing because I want to inspire people and try to encourage people that like to not be trapped in this little box of just like, I follow this person because they do squats really well. I follow this person because they show me the best deals at stores. I follow this person. And it's like, that person's a person. You should follow the person if you like the person. But then it goes back to the point of, once that person does something you don't agree with, then you don't follow them anymore. And humans, for some reason, can't handle disagreements or the agree to disagree thing. Like, if someone always has to like, I'm right. Like, people are just they find it so difficult to just like, to just agree to disagree. So I think that's probably why, is like, so you follow someone who talks about one specific thing, and if you agree with that thing, then you know that you'll always want to follow them because you agree with that thing, kind of. So it's just unfortunate that that's how society works now. We've lost all of the interesting things about ourselves on social media.
Yeah. I'm like, let's bring it back, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to follow people because I adore who they are as humans, you know?
Yeah.
And like, even if I disagree, it's kind of like, okay, look, my parents and I don't always agree, but I love them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, let's bring it back.
Yeah.
Let's just be who we are and express the things we want.
Yeah, no, I'm trying, like, on my stories and stuff, I'll definitely like put more of my opinions on that. And I definitely I'm not good at staying quiet about things. I'm very opinionated about things, and I'm usually pretty harsh. I'm not very good at saying things in a gentle way. So I definitely am trying to get people to be more strong-minded, because the whole weak-minded thing is not fun. It's not fun. I don't enjoy it.
I think something we definitely are missing is more self-responsibility and like more like bravery, you know, like step out of your comfort zone. You're not going to do anything from your mom's basement.
Yeah.
You know, like get out there. If you really want your opinions to be heard and you really want an alignment of people, you know, start a podcast, start a social media page, you know, obviously, like if those opinions matter so much to you and they matter enough to go out of your way to post on a social media page or anything like that, then go say it somewhere else. You know what I mean? Yeah. Connect with people who feel the same way about you, which is kind of exactly what we do in Carnivore, although we're not that aggressive, I don't think. Well, some of us are. But, and like even in the meat-based space in general, you know, and like I hate seeing the back and forth between like carnivores and animal-based, like you were talking about Paul Saladino and fruit. And it's like,
who cares?
What's the difference, really? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, if I feel great and I eat fruit and you feel great and you eat meat, the common denominator is that we feel great. Not what we're eating. I mean, it is to an extent, but like, it's like, I'm never going to look at you and be like, you need honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, like, because you feel great, you need more honey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And it's exactly like you said, like I am putting my opinions online and people can follow if they want to. I'm not going to other people's pages that I disagree with and like commenting on their stuff, telling them why I disagree with them. Like this just seems like such a huge waste of time. Like put your own opinions out there, and then like if people like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. That's how life works. That's how sharing things works. So yeah, we just need to get like a little more tough and a little more. Step out of your comfort zone, try some new things, take a little more personal responsibility for your life. Like you're not perfect. You're definitely flawed. You're just like the whole victimhood. Like you're perfect. Everything's good. Sunshine and rainbows. I feel like we need a little more truth and a little less like foo-foo. Like everything's great and everything's perfect. Like that. So I like to bring. I am a positive person. Obviously, I love carnivore. I am very happy. I get along with people and things, but I am not delusional. And when I also like look at reality, and if someone needs a slap in the face, I'm more than happy to deliver that. And if I need a slap in the face, I pray to God that someone is in my life that can deliver that for me and wake me up.
Yeah, no, 100%. Absolutely. Oh, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming. I really so sincerely enjoyed this. I adore your just outlook and everything. I mean, I feel like it so aligns with just me as a human too. You know, I feel like we have a lot of very similar like thoughts, you know, particularly around society, social media, you know, eating, obviously. But thank you so much for being here, and we'll do another one for sure.
Yeah, I would love to. That was awesome. And I felt like a little therapy session. You asked such good questions.
Thank you. Thank you. I love reeling it in, you know, going from, I always love to remind people where they've been, you know, versus where they are now. And I love to plant that seed. Like, I want you thinking about your success and like how far you have come for the next month.
Yeah, and you can't get anywhere if you don't go anywhere. So it's you gotta change, you gotta develop, you can't be scared of failure, which is something else that I learned that I learned to get over and face my fears with failure and stuff. You can't be afraid of what people think. You can't be afraid of if they're gonna think you're stupid or blah blah blah. Like just do it and have fun. It's just life. Like, don't take life so seriously, you know?
Oh yeah. I love that.
Eat meat and have fun. Be happy.
The perfect last words.
Thank you for listening. Until we meet again.